Hi, and welcome to AI in C# and the Microsoft Agent Framework. Today, we're going to look at Azure AI Foundry and its file search tools. Because AI Foundry, on top of just providing LLM responses, can also work as a vector store. I tend to like to have my vector store and control it myself. But if you want it a bit more simple and just have something that loads up a bunch of files up in Azure in a vector store, it is a quite easy way to work with files. I just prefer to have more control myself, but that's a matter of opinion. So let's go in and see how it works. I have some code here on the file search tool, and I have an AI Foundry here where I don't have any vector stores so far. Oh, I have one, but let's delete it so we get rid of it. So no data at all. And what we're going to do in this case is just like we did in the responses API, because they are very much the same when it comes to the file search, is that we have some data in terms of a PDF. And in that PDF, there's a word of the day, which is banana cake. And let's go in and make a tool so that gets this PDF and can find that word. Because if it can find that word, it could also find corporate data in some kind of set of PDFs and find the data. So it's essentially RAG, but where everything is controlled by the AI Foundry. So let's run the code and see what is going on. So we make our normal persistent agent client like normal, and then we grab our agent and thread, and we also grab our vector store ID so we can later on delete and clean up from this example. We then go in and get the secret data.pdf. It's just a file. And we're using the persistent clients files API to upload the file, which comes from data/file ID. And we're telling this is for agents to be used as input data. So we do that, and we have a file up there. We can't really see that file in the portal anywhere. They have not provided any interface for them, only for the vector stores. So let's make the vector store and get the vector store ID so we can delete it later on. But else we're just going to say, make that vector store have the file we want. So we create a vector store file, and we should be able to see up here in ai.azure.com that we should now have a vector store here. And that vector store should have one file, which is our data/secret. Now we go in and make our agent. So we call it file agent, and we tell it it's a file agent, and it should always use tools to answer a question, not its word knowledge. Because if I didn't put this in and ask for what is the word of the day, it just came up with a word. It didn't know that it was supposed to go down into my files and find it. Then I need to tell that there's a tool resource to do this, and that is, in our case, our vector store, which is just our vector store's ID we give it, so it knows I'm allowed to use that vector store when I'm answering the question. And in the tool section itself, we need to tell that it's a file search tool definition, and it's allowed to find max 10 files. So when we have that, we can create our agents and get our new thread and ask what is the word of the day. And if we do that, we should get something back that says it's banana cake, and then it puts it in this that we should get rid of on the fly, or it's actually not part of. Yeah, okay, it is part, but it's the idea is that this should be searched and replaced by the annotation that is in here. And the annotation we get by looping through the messages. And then there's content. In this case, we have 3 content. The first one was that we got the content. Then the second one is that we have an annotation, and that annotation tells that it's this file. And the final one is just a random dot because it's after the thing. So we get our annotations, and they are of type citation annotation. So we get a file ID. So in order for us to actually show the file, we need to say get files. So this is the file referenced. So we can go in and see that the file name is this, and this can be used then to go in and search replace the original text with, so we can go in and set the value. But our end result is, of course, that it's banana cake, and the reference file was this. We could, of course, have a website where we could then click that link and download the content so the user could see it in their system. So fairly simple to do. And again, I have cleaned up, so now there shouldn't be a vector store anymore up there. But of course, you wouldn't delete the vector stores, and you wouldn't do it up front. You would have a separate process to populate the vector store, and then just reference it in your agent. So that is actually everything there is to file search. See you in the next one.